Okay, this is John Black, super chemist. Before I knew that everyone was related in all the presidents and vice presidents, pretty much. I thought they were families, and this is still true. There are families. There's elite mafia families. You got the Rockefellers, you got the Kennedys, but I thought that there was also the Roosevelts, the Adams, the Bushes. But no. The Bushes are actually families with everybody. The Adamses, the Roosevelts, the Williamsons, all of them. They're just all related. Every last one of them. This video, I'm going to go and tell you the theory. Before I knew that they were all related, I had a theory, right? Or I seen a pattern. I'm going to discuss that pattern that's false in this video, and then next video I'll tell you the truth, another pattern, and it's the truth. Okay, so what I noticed was that a lot of times, so we're going back to 1900, a lot of times a president has a vice president, right? And the vice president is related to one of these elite mafia families. And then the president dies, and that royalty, in this first case, this Roosevelt, he moves into the presidency, and that's how they get to be president without actually getting voted in. They don't care. They'll just kill you off. And I want you to look at these examples. We're going to go through the examples all the way from 1897 up to today, right? And you can see we got McKinley, right? He did 4 years, and then on his second term, he died within months, okay? And I want you to notice the first 2 years he had a vice president named Hobart. Next 2 years, no one in office. No one, and he doesn't die. But magically, the very second that he lets a elite mafia member, in this case Theodore Roosevelt, as soon as he lets a mafia member into the vice presidency, magically McKinley dies within months. Magically. It was either, I think it was he ate something bad or whatever, or maybe he had a heart attack, one of the two. Did they poison him to get? I'm not saying they did. I'm just saying I'm noticing a pattern, okay, where the vice president is related to a mafia, an elite mafia member, and then all of a sudden the president dies, and the elite mafia member moves into the presidency. That's all I'm saying, okay? Here's the first one, right? And what I noticed is, see from here, you got 1901, Theodore Roosevelt becomes vice president, right? All these people, except for Woodrow Wilson, all the way down to the second Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, they're all related, okay? And I knew that. So I'm thinking, wow, is this like some kind of mafia family, shootout, you know what I mean, war, where they're trying to get, the Roosevelts are trying to get their people in, and the Bushes are trying to get their people in, and they're just knocking each other off, like just to get into office. I'm wondering this, right? Because for the entire time, for 50 years, except for Woodrow Wilson, everyone was related to Roosevelt. That was the president. Everybody. Okay? So I'm thinking, wow, is this some kind of mafia thing? So, like I said, for 50 years the Roosevelts ruled the presidency, right? Now let's look at this FDR guy. FDR actually got voted into office 4 times, if you can believe it or not. 4 times. Okay? The first 8 years, he has Garner as his vice president. The next 4 years, he has Henry Wallace. But the very second, just like with McKinley, the very second, he's got all these vice presidents, but the second he gets a Roosevelt vice president, he's dead. Same thing happens here. After 50 years of the Bushes only getting Woodrow Wilson in there, and the Roosevelts owning the presidency for 50 years, their relatives, I was like, oh, well, the Bushes are going nuts now. They're like, well, man, we this is a war, man. It looks like it, right? Because now, for 8 years before, 12 years, this man has had 2 different vice presidents. Nothing's happened to him. Then all of a sudden, his 4th term, right? They don't even give a 45 to something because he dies within months. And boom, as soon as he has Harry Truman, which is a relative of Bush, as soon as he makes that mistake of making a Bush his vice president, he dies. Okay, for either a heart attack or else he ate some kind of food and that killed him. But then I want you to notice after this now. Now we got two trends. We got the Roosevelts taking over. It looks like they're taking over, and they take over for 50 years. And they keep all the relatives except for Woodrow Wilson. And then the Bushes are like, man, we gotta make a move. You know what I mean? And then they, after 12 years being president, on his fourth term, he makes Truman vice president. He dies months later. So now let's go through to the thing. Now we have Eisenhower is next, right? And I'm thinking at the time, Nixon is not related to the Roosevelts or to the Bushes, right? So they're not going to want to kill Eisenhower as much, you know what I mean? And, okay, Eisenhower was he was like a Biden or a Clinton. He was a puppet. People think, Biden and Clinton are puppets to Obama. No. Obama and Clinton are related. And Clinton is higher than Obama, okay? So, yeah, you're right. Clinton and Biden is owned by Obama, but Obama is part of Bush. And Bush owns, he's higher than Obama. So, anyways, he's a puppet. So they don't kill him off. And plus, if they do, Nixon, I'm thinking, isn't related to anyone. They don't want, they'd rather have a puppet in than him, you know what I mean? So he makes it through 8 years, all right? But what happens next? You got JFK. Oh, Kennedy isn't, I don't think they're related to the Bushes or the Roosevelts. Now what happens to this man? Oh, Lyndon B. Johnson, the vice president, happens to be related to George Bush. And oh my God, JFK gets shot and killed, right? Shot in the head, right? And Lyndon B. Johnson, without any votes, moves right into the presidency. Wow. Now this is like the fourth time I've said this happened, right? Or the third time or something, right? So Lyndon B. Johnson becomes the president. Who's the next president? Nixon. And I'm thinking Nixon ain't related to nobody. That's why they didn't kill off Eisenhower, because Nixon was the vice president, right? So they don't want, he's not related, I'm thinking he's not related to Bush, he's not related to Roosevelt's. By this pattern, they should try to kill him. Do they try to kill him? No. But Gerald Ford is not the vice president. Agnew is. But you know what Gerald Ford is at this time? He's Speaker of the House. That means he's third in line for the presidency. Okay, now they're like going down all the way down to the Speaker of the House now, okay? So what happens? They don't kill these people, but first they impeach Agnew, get rid of him, right? And Gerald Ford is the Speaker of the House, so he slides in with no votes, and he becomes the vice president. Then Nixon, right? He gets impeached, and what happens? Gerald Ford now slides into the presidency. Even though he didn't get any votes for president or vice president, he is now president of the United States. Used to be a congressman, okay? But so now Gerald Ford is now the president. He's related to Bush. Jimmy Carter's related to Bush. Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan. Now, so far, everyone who has not been, related to a Bush or a Roosevelt, they're getting knocked off. And surprisingly, either a Roosevelt or a Bush is in the vice presidency. And the first 50 years was the Roosevelts. This next 50 years is the Bushes. You know what I mean? So Reagan, you're down to Reagan. He isn't related to anybody, right? But look who the vice president is. Bush himself. So Bush is related to Bush because he is Bush, right? And they tried to assassinate Reagan, who would have moved over into the spot. They didn't do a second attempt, probably because they were like, damn, we've been killing off these people that aren't related to us for 50 years. Roosevelt did it for 50 years. It's like, hey, maybe we should not do a second attempt, And plus, we do have George H.W. Bush is the vice president. He wields a lot of power as the vice president, more than people think. You know what I mean? Then he becomes president, right? So there's no. Let me move this up here. Now I want you to notice Gerald Ford. Who was his vice president? A Rockefeller, another elite mafia. You know, everyone knows. At least everyone knows the Rockefellers. They may not know the Bushes, but yeah, the Rockefellers, everybody knows. They're the elite mafia family. So back to George H.W. Bush. Barack Obama is also... and then you got Clinton. Clinton was a puppet. We all know. Everyone says that Obama owns him, but obviously Obama and George Bush are related. They're the same people. They're the same elite mafia. Then you got George Bush, the son, the W instead of the HW. So obviously he's related to the Bushes. Obama is related to the Bushes. And then Trump throws, you don't even count after that because he threw a wrench into the whole scheme of things, right? He ain't related to nobody. And he ain't part of it. He's not a puppet. He's not a deep state. But do you see a pattern going on here? I'm not saying that, you know, these early, like McKinley, I'm not saying someone killed him the same way with FDR. I'm not saying someone killed him so that but I'm saying they died months after making a Bush or a Roosevelt their vice president, and they had vice presidents for years and years and years and years and years. Sometimes more than one vice president. Nothing happens to these presidents until they get a Roosevelt or a Bush in there, and then they die. Okay? So I'm not saying that these are all assassinations or these are all whatever, but isn't that a little fishy? I mean, we're talking about like what, 10 times or something now? I don't know. I'm just making up numbers here. What was it? We had McKinley's 1, FDR's 2. Let's see here. Wait, 2, 3, JFK. 4, Nixon. 5, Reagan. 6, Trump. Look at Trump. They've actually, I looked up, there's actually more than 4 assassination attempts on Trump. There's actually, go to Wikipedia and put in attempted assassinations of presidents, and then go down to Donald Trump. You'll see like they've been trying to assassinate him like 7 times already. It's just like, you know what I mean? So, anyways, now remember, all this was before I realized the Bush family and the Roosevelts are actually the same family. They all go back to Samuel Hinckley, and if you take it back to England, they're Queen Elizabeth II. If you take it back to the 1700s, they're all related to King Edward I. These are just... We killed all the kings and queens, and all their relatives just fled to the Americas and started a monarchy. But instead of it being a regular monarchy where everyone knows they're king and queen, they set up a deep state. We are living in a monarchy, deep state that's pretending to be a democracy. Okay, and it's not just the presidents and the vice presidents; it's everybody. The state secretaries, like Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War. Director of CIA, Director of the FBI, the Federal Reserve Bank, the people that work on there, you know, it's just they're all related to Bush, or they are puppets of Bush. Okay. Now in the next video, I'm going to go in to tell you what the real truth is. Okay. Because it isn't that they're killing off these people left and right and there's some kind of war between two factions or two families. That isn't the case because they're all related. So, what we'll do is we'll go to the next video that I will make up right now and I will post it. Let's see here. Boom.